Alright. Now it looks like we're getting into the picks and bans phase here, and they're going to pretty much come out fast. Might even see a Troll Evelyn ban, and you know, just some good fun. There comes the Moo. Elise, Gragas was not picked or banned, so he wasn't one of the original bans. Heimerdinger coming out. Heimerdinger very OP. As you can see, he's picked in almost every single tournament game. Zillion coming out. Zillion, another very, very OP champion. The Fancy Shark, you're acknowledged. Lulu coming out. Yeah, looks like everyone will just be picking up the champions that they actually were just meant to start with. Nivea being picked up. Shen, Ezreal. Looks like all the picks remaining the same. Very, very cool. And this game will, hopefully be underway. I forgot to switch over the overlay there. But we'll be getting in this game very momentarily.
Man, B Weekly is just throwing in the jokes in the chat. They're pretty good.
I like it. You like lol puns. Let me ask you a question. You like lol puns? 'Cause I got a zillion of them. Was the first one I ever heard. But yeah. So what do you think about these? Some of these. Well, we won't talk about summoners and team comps just yet. But who do you think, just by looking at these team comps, has the edge here?
Let's see. So we've got Ezreal and Lulu. That's a pretty standard bottom lane going up against Janet Kog'Maw. So, I mean, just looking at the champions, I would definitely have to give it to Ezreal and Lulu, especially in the early games. So it's really up to CG Montage not to get behind. Of course, we did see him play Kog'Maw with that Janna on Crackerjap last tournament, and they did very well, of course, getting to second place. So, you know, I definitely expect that it should be alright in the early game, but definitely the advantage going over to Ezreal. Lulu in the jungle. At Hecarim and Maokai, both are pretty gank heavy. Hecarim is someone that's picking up popularity now compared to Maokai, who was just kind of a very solid jungler back in the day. So it'll be interesting to kind of see that contrast between the two of them. I'd say it really depends on what they manage to do, you know, if they get successful ganks off. They're both pretty quick in the jungle, pretty straightforward, a lot of AoE clear. Up in the top lane, looks like we do have Shis's Kale, and I do believe we now have the summoner blockers off, so we can talk about this a bit. Shen with the teleport, and of course with his ultimate, he's going to be split pushing. He's going to be anywhere on the map whenever he wants to be, as long as he has those up. So we're definitely looking for him to have a lot of global pressure and see what he can do with that presence, you know, turning ganks around, stuff like that. Kale, on the other hand, I do believe Sangero did run the Ghost last time as well. I'm not a big fan of it because Kale's ultimate doesn't really stop CC, so you still kind of need the flash to prevent yourself from getting, you know, CC locked down. But it's been definitely working for Sangero last couple times, so we'll have to see how he uses it this time as well. I definitely expect Sangero to get an early lead in lane. With Shen, you know, he doesn't have a lot of sustain compared to someone like Kale, because if he gets anywhere close, Kale just turns on E and just starts whacking at him. And if he taunts her, you know, sure, that's great. I'm going to keep damaging you, right? And anytime, you know, you're just the right distance away from Kale, she uses a slow on you, uses the move speed buff on her, and she just sticks to you until the E wears off. So it'll be a rough lane for Sacred Stride in the early game. We'll see, you know, maybe Mao can come in for a gank and get that sorted out, because Kale does naturally push the lane a little bit, especially if she turns out the Righteous Fury. So definitely see how that goes. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Lux versus Anivia. That's not a bad lane. Of course, Lux with a lot more of the, you know, burst damage snipe down compared to Anivia, who puts down the Glacial Storm. She'll definitely, you know, be able to, you know, use that, you know, maybe Mao can come in for a gank and get that sorted out, because Kale does naturally push the lane a little bit, especially if she turns out the Righteous Fury. So definitely see how that goes. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Lux versus Anivia. That's not a bad lane. Of course, Lux with a lot more of the, you know, burst damage snipe down compared to Anivia, who puts down the Glacial Storm. She'll definitely, Actually, both of these champions are pretty good late game. Of course, you have Lux with the laser on a 30-second cooldown. You know, she can clear waves. She can, you know, snipe people out. If the team fight goes on long enough, she gets to use her ultimate twice. And if either of those hits very well, you know, it can do a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Anivia, with the new Liandry chain, she can just put down her Glacial Storm and just burn HP off of everyone like crazy. So definitely excited for these two sides. And of course, back to your original question, which side do I think is better? Well, I'd have to say that,
It's pretty hard to call at this stage in the game, to be honest.
well, the blue side is more of an early game comp, I would say, whereas purple side is more late game. Of course, we have, you know, once Kale gets the late game, once Kog'Maw, of course, gets the late game, Hecarim kind of needs a couple more items to have that tankiness to be able to jump into the enemy team and not get melted down. So, early game, I would definitely expect the side of Casual Gaming Center,
CGC, yeah.
yes, to, you know, try to put on the pressure, especially with the Maokai, especially mid game with the Shen ultimate with the teleports. But once it gets to the late game, then, you know, we're definitely watching CG montage to see him rip faces off with Kog'Maw.
Definitely, and one other thing I wanted to note about top lane is that Kale does not have any hard CC, so when Shen's ulting, she's not going to be able to do anything to just negate it, as we see with some top laners like Darius and other things. They can, you know, use their hook and pull them out of their ult channel, and, you know, there's ways to interrupt it, but, you know, Sangaro is not going to be able to interrupt it, so he's going to have to respond by pushing.
Yeah, and Shen, of course, being the first pickup on the side of Casual Gaming Center, Sangaro's, of course, very, very comfortable on the kill. We've seen him play kill quite a few times to great success. So it looks like they're just opting to go for that, you know, their favorite pick, someone that Sangaro is very comfortable on, rather than trying to counter-pick the Shen. Of course, kill's going to do a lot of damage against Shen. You know, so if Shen's kind of low on health, right, he can, sure, go ult in, you know, you're just going to feed another kill to us, right? So, Sangaro's basically just picking up his, you know, best champion, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we've definitely seen him hunt Kale a whole lot, so we're going to have to see how the rest of these matchups work. Very good little lane breakdown there coming out from our ever so good color caster, who didn't even mention any colors this time. I'm gonna be kind of
Are you disappointed?
a little bit.
Well, you know, on the side here, on the red side, they're basically all, they have a little bit of blue, a little bit of that gold, you know, between everyone, except the Viridian Kill. Of course, Viridian Kill ruining kind of everything. With that green, as you can see, that lovely palish blue, palish gold color with the rest of the team.
A little pause comes out from, I don't know who paused or what happened, but the game has been paused. It looks like maybe someone has disconnected. It looks like Lulu has not left the base yet. She might be having some internet difficulty, and it looks like we did pick an interesting game to start with, because so far nothing has happened, which is fairly interesting after about, you know, 30 minutes. So,
hey, yo, everyone, I'm here.
Hello. What happened to you?
My internet went down. I did text someone to hopefully, I don't know if he actually posted something in chat, but I texted him telling him to post something in chat, so hopefully he did that, but if not, you know,
Nope.
I'm here
we
either
just
way.
assumed.
So.
But I did bring the stream up, and I did kind of take over though. And right now we're in a game, if you want to call it that. So far we've seen about 5 minutes of League of Legends play. So I mean 5 seconds.
5 seconds? Alright, so I'm not missing much.
So are you gonna take over for Corinne?
Yes, I will. And
Alright, well, chat, just give a hand to the lovely Corinne. Thank you for stopping by and just being a ready backup. So,
yeah, we definitely like the fact that you were able to be a ready backup. That is awesome, and thank you very much for doing that. I did not expect my internet to go down.
you never
Hopefully no one
expect
ever does.
Yeah, you never do expect it. It happens to everyone. It's even happened to people like Riot and whatnot. You know, no one can really see stuff like that coming.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, it looks like we are just going to have some defense of the blue buff. coming out here by the red team, and I'm not sure if
30 seconds until minions
I'm
spawn.
not sure if CGC has a plan here to do some invading, or it looks like they might just ward, and they might be looking to do something here.
Did you guys run down some of the team comps? Because
Yeah.
right now I'm looking at it. Blue team's got a pretty strong one, but we might have an initiation here.
Oh,
Ooh,
there
flash
goes the
pop.
flash by Anivia, flashing, really fearing Maokai, like skilling up, you know, a really quick twisted advance. But in all honesty, let's see.
Minions have spawned.
He did not skill anything up, if you can see it yet. He has no skill up, so he was just really ready to just go on that Anivia. And if he'd gotten that twisted advance off and Anivia had flashed, he still would have been drawn over, which actually, you know, might not have been the smartest thing, because he would have been pulled into Kog'Maw and away from his team.
Definitely. And so now it looks like we see the blue team. They're just going to end up stealing the red team's blue buff, Janna and Kog'Maw, just seeing if they can do anything about it. But ultimately, there are 4 people for the blue team there.
Kog'Maw taking some damage by Ezreal here. Ezreal and Lulu both poking, but Lulu will be taken low, and they will disengage that fight, not wanting to have any deaths right now. Maokai looked like he was almost going to go for a level 2 gank there, but he decided to back off, and instead he's like, I'm going to take my enemy's wraiths. Oh no,
Yes.
actually no, he's going back to his own jungle. My bad.
Or
Maokai
in the bot lane, we
returning
do
to
have a
his jungle.
few trades. Let's see. Alright, so Ezreal Lulu, they're going to have a ton of poke, and in this lane, Janna doesn't really have any sustain in terms of heals or anything, so that's going to be a very strong lane. The best Janna can do is shield, but in order to do that, you really need to be good at preempt, knowing what the enemy team is going to do and how they're going to poke before they actually do it. So that's going to be a fairly difficult lane. Not only that, but Kog'Maw in general early game doesn't really have too much all-in potential, and that's generally what you do to beat a poke lane, is you all-in them. So right now we're just going to see some trades, and Janna just trying to CC Ezreal as much as she can to try to get some of that damage out and counteract some of the blue team's poke.
One thing we see also is in the jungle down there, we do see a little scuffle between Hecarim and Maokai. Maokai getting twisted advanced onto Hecarim, however he is taking a lot of damage from Anivia. The ignite does go out, and Maokai does have double buff, but the shield does go out, and a very nice binding. Lux saving Maokai. That would have been first blood against CGC, but that was a very interesting fight, and the bubble buff, as I called it earlier, is still on Maokai. That would have been huge if Anivia was able to secure that.
Oh yeah, that would have been pretty huge, and great awareness by Lux to just be there, and she even snared both enemies with her snare, so that was a very nice play. And we did have a pause earlier, so we're a little bit out of sync. I believe I'm a little ahead of you.
Oh, you are? Huh. Well,
Yeah, we commented on that, Lux. I was a little ahead.
well, I'm at about 415 as of now, and it looks like there is some aggression going down on Lux. Lux using her shield, though, not quite early enough. But that Lux shield, very good. At level 1, say you do get in a level 1 team fight, if you did skill shield first, that would mitigate about 500, 600 damage. Do a very good job. And
Yes, it very well was.
don't worry, you're just color. You can just talk about the color real quick, and I can cover the action. And next game, everything will be handy dandy.
All
looks
right.
like
Oh yes, it will.
Kog'Maw is going to be doing some damage to Ezreal. They're constantly trading. Lulu and Janna both having shields, so all this poke is just flying back and forth, and you know, you just have to see who has the more potions. And Maokai is coming in for a gank here. The tornado does not hit, but Kog'Maw flashes under the tower. The Maokai is now taking the tower, but he will run away. No
Yeah,
one
I was
dying
just
there.
about to say, before that gank actually happened, is that they were getting a pretty good amount of damage onto Kog'Maw now. If Kog'Maw overextends a little bit, you can basically send Lulu to Glitterlands, and she can even use help picks to get her pet closer to Kog'Maw by forcing it on the Ezreal. Then the Glitterlance will be able to have even more range, and that will definitely get a huge slow out onto Kog'Maw and allow Ezreal to just do that much more damage. So that's one of the main ways they can counteract some of the aggression that Kog'Maw was already putting in, and they did a really good job of that. However, the Maokai gank did fail as Kog'Maw flashed under the tower, and the Twisted Advance, you know, just going a little bit too far because of that. So great play and a great flash.
Yeah. There was a game I saw one time where someone was playing Ezreal mid, and they were playing Yi. The Yi alpha striked on the Ezreal, and he flashed arcane shifted under his tower and got first blood. And it was you know, flashing when you don't have an instant ability, you know, can be some pretty funny results. And it looks yeah.
I think you are a few seconds behind. I'm getting a little bit of confirmations, and just make sure you jump to live there.
Oh, I am behind. I should be fine. Are you who are you getting confirmations from? Like from the team, or
from the chat? Oh, the Skype chat. Yeah, you're just about 2 seconds behind. Just jump to live, or press the plus button.
Nope. There we
press
are.
J to go to live.
I am live now. Skipping a little
There
few
you
seconds of the game. Thank you very much, chat. But skipping a few seconds of the game, and now we will be 100% live. Whoa, it's randomly bringing me behind a second or two.
That should be fine. But Maokai looks like he's warding up the enemy blue buff, and Maokai is one of the junglers who can really get control of either team's jungle pretty easily. He's got saplings which basically face check bushes for him and give him vision of whoever does what, and right now we might be seeing Anivia try to catch Lux out.
Anivia going to be in the bot lane there. Maokai does dive onto Kog'Maw. Lux does not quite pop her bottle in time. However, the Shen ult does come in here, but he is very out of place. Not going to be able to do anything, but Anivia does get egged, and they are putting down a lot of damage there. Now Kog'Maw might be in trouble here, but Shen also being taken fairly low. First blood does go out to CGC, and that will just be a 1-for-none trade. Shen being taken really low there by Kog'Maw and Janna, trying to make something happen, but looks like they are already at an advantage here, because they will be able to probably secure this dragon.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a game where the first blood comes in about 8 minutes into the game. It shows that both teams are really trying to be careful. This is still really early in the tournament, so Lulu getting taken down by the dragon there, and they might be able to turn on
getting
this.
executed by that dragon. That was pretty funny, and Ezreal going after Crackerjap, but CP Montag is there, and Maokai does Twisted Advance for that kill. Now Kog'Maw is in trouble. Hecarim is here, but will he be able to do something? The Flash Lux Binding missed, but the laser will get that kill. Hecarim now in the middle doing lots of damage, but Maokai is negating a lot of that, and that's 4 kills all of a sudden in the last minute for CGC. They are off to a very good start.
Yeah, I think a lot of people oftentimes underestimate Maokai's ultimate, which is just such a great ability. It reduces so much damage, and right there we saw that Hecarim probably underestimating the amount of damage reduction that does do, because he was basically sitting there trying to do as much as he could. Kog'Maw even came in with his Icathian Surprise doing true damage, and I believe damage reduction happens after true damage because it's not technically a resistance that you're gaining, it's actually just damage reduction. So that didn't do as much damage as it should have. So they really just underestimated that, and Ezreal was able to come back into the fight and ultimately get that kill at the end. Very nice play by Maokai and by Ezreal, and really, they even got the dragon out of it too, I believe. So that was a very, very good play. No, Dragon's
I believe,
still
yeah, Dragon is still on this map right here. It's still just flapping his wings right there, as you can see.
Oh yeah. So Lux does get her blue buff. That's going to help her out a lot during lane because she really mana hungry. She's a very mana hungry champion. Not only that, but she spams a lot of spells. So having that shorter cooldown really helps her to throw out more bindings, to prevent ganks, to land ganks, and ultimately just do more damage. Not only that, but with the mana regen, she's going to be able to poke down Anivia very easily. And Anivia is really another mana-hungry champion, so having that blue buff ahead of Anivia, you're going to be very far ahead. It's going to be hard for her to actually land some of her abilities, and right now we see she's just using it on minions, so she's not going to have a high enough mana pool to actually win an all-out engagement here. So they really want to be careful about that, but Janna being caught out.
Janna getting dove on by Maokai. Not sure if he's going to be able to take her down as the Tornado does get the knockup and Anivia is there for backup. CG Montag is actually just kind of being forced to farm under his tower, but as you can look at the CS difference is not all that huge. In fact, CP Montag is winning out the CS pool. I think that late game, I'd have to give it to New Theta. I'd have to say New Theta might pull this out if they can just survive. Ezreal is, a lot stronger in the early to mid game, whereas Kog'Maw is really strong late as long as you can protect the Kog'Maw. And with that Kayle and that Hecarim Fear and that Anivia wall, I think that they will be able to do just that.
Yeah, not only that, but Anivia is also an extremely powerful late game champ. Not only does she do damage, but she also has a ton of utility in that wall you mentioned, being able to stop people from diving onto Kog'Maw.
And it looks like we do have Hecarim coming in here pretty fast. Does pop the ult, does not get any fear off, but they just wanted to close that gap faster. Maokai is here, however, and that is going to be a lot of damage coming out. Hecarim does get taken down, and now they are looking to capitalize on this Kog'Maw and Janna. The slow does go down, but they might be able to catch Krakajap here, but very nice Tornado. He does get the speed up, and they are going to dive the tower. Lux Laser is here. Krakajap trying to make something happen, but very nice flash by Lulu. Looks like Maokai could fall here. No, he's not going to. So many members are really low. Will we see one of them fall? Shen ult comes down, saving Ezreal at the very last minute. And Kog'Maw will be forced back as 4 members of the blue team are there. This will, however, cause them to lose their top tower, but that was just a very nice fight. We're seeing a lot of really good play out of CGC. They really want to make sure that their early game comp makes, as you can see, the score is 6-0. They want to make sure that, their early game comp actually, wins the early game.
Yeah, and CGC we know is a team that has been here quite a bit in the past. Basically, I know they've been competing in these tournaments for, I don't know, I think since the first or second month we've been doing this, so they have gotten a lot of experience, and I believe they've even taken a few TowerDive Weekly tournaments, so they're definitely a strong team, and we're seeing it right here. Some amazing communication happening with that dive under the tower. Maokai was basically saying, alright, I've got the snare. Lux, you can use your ultimate right here, right where I've got him snared, and they were able to do that. Afterwards, Ezreal was saved by the Shen ult. Just amazing communication by their team. They're able to secure a lot of kills while not giving any up. The only unfortunate part about all this is the fact that Red Team is still in the game because they have been taking the top tower along with the drag, so that's going to be giving them basically as much gold as Blue Team right now. So right now the gold difference is generally the same, however, with the type of gold that Red Team is getting, they're getting global distributed gold. And in some cases that might be better, in some cases that might not be, because, for an example, Maokai right here is really far ahead. He's 700 gold ahead of Hecarim, so he's going to be a lot tankier coming into mid-game. Ezreal is 4,000 gold, 4,100 to Kog'Maw's 3,700 gold. While on the red team, people who are beating out their lane matchups and opponents in gold are generally the support in top lane, who the support obviously not quite going to do as much damage or tankiness as most of the other champs. So I think in terms of gold distribution, even though the gold difference is fairly even, I would have to give it to the blue team and say that they're ahead because they have it on those high priority champs like Ezreal and Maokai.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but again, right now they are being outpushed and they are being out CS'd, and that is just, like I said, helping bring him into the late game. And the slow does go down on Lulu. She does get knocked up. Ezreal, unfortunately, Arcane shifted away, but very nice Lulu ult. Both of them getting feared, and Kog'Maw putting out so much damage. Now they look to turn to Ezreal, but actually Shen does end up coming down with his teleport, and Maokai is here also, but a very nice John ult will do that, but she will get twisted advances on. Oh, getting that kill on Janna. But again, whenever Shen leaves top lane, Kale's just pushing all day, so another tower goes down for the new Theta, changing their name and confusing me, but definitely, they're still definitely in this game. The gold advantage, despite the giant kill disadvantage that the new Theta has, is fairly even. But we'll have to see how this ends up turning out. And wow, the tower is already half gone. It looks like Lulu might get taken down here too, getting taken really low by this Kayle. Shen does ult, but will she still go down? Yes, she will, and Shen will not be able to get back in time, so Kayle can continue pushing. Well, no, she will run, seeing that, you know, people are probably on my way, or on their way to hurt me, and will she end up getting away from this? I'm not sure. Very nice Kayle ult, but she is slowed. Maokai ult does go down, not enough to kill Kayle. Kayle just running away. Her heal is on cooldown. The slow does go down. Will she be able to get away from Maokai? I think she just might. No! The twisted advance barely in range. The heal not getting her enough. And it looks like the slow does go again. And here comes Hecarim. This fight being dragged out very long, and they just decide to disengage. Kayle playing very nicely and just barely making it out of there.
Wow, Maokai just so close to securing that kill. Unfortunately not able to get it. And I really think that Red Team is handling this game extremely well. They realize that Shen is one of those champs where what people plan to do is people plan on basic... He's even bringing teleport too, that's another thing. They're planning on making action happen in other lanes. And that is the very nature of Shen, is to basically keep an eye on his team and be anywhere but his lane to try to secure some extra kills. And in response, the red team ended up picking Kayle, who's got some amazing split pushing ability, and she's been doing just that in the top lane. So, as you've mentioned, red team is doing a very good job of out-pushing blue team, even though blue team is ahead in the kills, and they're able to get some really nice ganks off.
Yeah, very true. And also, if I have to take a look here at the different vision, I'd have to say that, you know, out of the different teams, there really are, you know, some vision differences. As we turn to, you know, the red team's perspective, they do have the enemy jungle warded, whereas if we go to the blue team's perspective here, they really only have the river, and, you know, they don't quite have as wide a vision. Their ward really only covers that top river, which, as we've seen, hasn't even had a lot of action. Their bot lane is almost completely blind other than a ward, which can't even spot blue.
Yeah, that's very true, and that's interesting to think of too, because generally information wins games, information wins wars. Information is just basically one of the
win wars.
things. Yeah, there you go. Words win wars. That is an excellent colloquialism. I don't even know if that's the right word to use. Probably not, but I'll just run with it.
It works.
So,
it works. It's
yep.
We'll table it for
Hecarim
now.
actually going for mobility boots. He's going to be looking to gank around a ton, and Anivia's also got a Tear the Goddess, and she's been stacking that, although
It looks
Locomotive...
like there is a fight bottom lane here. Maokai getting caught out. Ezreal is at the tower, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to help again. Maokai all negating a lot of damage, but he's being taken really low. And that is the shutdown. As we talked about, Maokai had lots of gold, and that is just going to give lots of gold to the person who shut him down, which I believe might have been Kog'Maw.
You know a cool thing I'd like to point out? You know why Maokai died there?
Why?
Lack of wards. They had absolutely no sight of what was happening in the bottom lane. Just now Lulu put that ward in the tri-bush. So Maokai really was not sure of the fact that there were actually 3 members of the enemy team bot lane that were ready to collapse on him. So, as we were saying before, wards win wars. You know, if you have enough ward coverage, you're not going to get caught out like that, because you'll know, hey, there's 3 enemy players here, I should probably not go there. Meanwhile, while all this happens, Kayle is still split pushing top lane. It looks like CGC is getting torn apart right here, even though we know that they've got some extremely strong mid-game potential, along with great communication and ganking, but most of the time I haven't really seen them up against such a split push comp. So very, very nice play by the red team, able to turn this game around.
Yeah, I mean, they had such a strong early game lead, and they were being so dominant that every team fight pretty much went to them because they always responded. Maokai was always there, and they always made the correct plays. But now, it just seems like they're just getting out-pushed and out-farmed, and that's, you know, bringing them into the late game, which I'm not sure if they want as much as, you know, just taking it home in the early game, which is really what their comp is ultimately good at. They do have a lot of good late game team fight. For example, Maokai still a good picker, his ult still very good, and that Lulu ult still going to be very useful, especially when Maokai just gets in the middle of their whole team. But I'd still have to give the late game over to the new Theta. They just definitely have that whole protect the Kog'Maw style comp.
Yeah, I think what the blue team needs to do right now, they need to get a few of the lanes pushing in their favor, and as soon as they do that, they need to group together mid, get a fight going, and they are kind of doing that right now. They are taking this tower down. After pushing top lane out of it, Shen actually backing against Kayle. I don't really think that's a good idea. He should be right there, trying to prevent that pushing and be with his fight, or with his team whenever a fight breaks out. So he does go back. Kayle isn't actually going to be able to reach the base, but either way, just getting a minion push in your favor is such a powerful item in this game. It really defines where your map limits are, where your map control goes.
Oh,
And
it looks like Janna could be in trouble here, or all of New Theta could be in trouble. Maokai does get in the middle of their team, and Shen is also in the middle of the team. Janna does get knocked up, not the best Lulu ult, and the Janna ult trying to reset the fight. Shen getting taken down, and they are just kiting backwards here. Ezreal not being able to put down a lot of damage, and wow, the Lux damage! Taking out 2 members of New Theta almost at once. So that fight actually ended up positive. But again, look at Sangaro just pushing the bot lane. That fight went extremely well for them, but they just, you need to keep an eye on that guy.
yeah, he's at the inhibitor right now. That inhibitor's going down. That is going to be a super minion push for the top lane.
Maokai
It's going to
getting
be
picked
so
up real
hard.
quick.
So hard for the blue team to combat this. And she's even going for the Nexus turrets. She might actually take this one down before Shen gets there, but Shen, it looks like he will discourage Kayle for a sec.
Yeah, it looks like Kayle will back off, but again, like they just were very split up there, and that really works out for them because their Janna can protect the Kog'Maw, who has most of the damage. Anivia also very strong, very good scaling. As you know, she's probably has one of the better kits out of an AP mid for survivability and damage. And Hecarim, of course, is a very tanky, very strong, has a lot of lifesteal, and he's just that's a really good at delaying, and that's exactly I think what they're trying to do here. Kayle just needs to push while fights are going on.
Yeah, right now blue team is going to have a lot of trouble taking a fight because of that split pushing potential. If blue team just leaves even just Shen top, I'm pretty sure Kayle could easily take Shen down, and they would be out one player for that fight. And at this point, red team has such a gold lead, about 5k gold in the lead. They also have map control. So these fights are going to be really hard. If a 4v4 fight breaks out, I'm going to have to say red team is going to be the ones winning that fight. Like you said before, Kog'Maw is an extremely strong late game champ, along with Anivia, and Hecarim's just got a lot of tankiness and lifesteal too. So blue team's really in a tough position.
Looks like
and
Kayle might be getting caught out here. Her ult does go down, and Maokai's ult does also go down on top of her. She is taking a lot of damage, but Kayle very fast with her heal on her. Didn't heal much because of the ignite, and it looks like Maokai did get the speed up from Lulu. She might be able to get caught, and it looks like Kayle will be turning around here. They will realize this, and I'm not sure if that was the smartest idea, waiting there. Kayle getting taken down. She's not going to be able to split push bottom lane. And it looks like they are pushing mid lane though. Shen does show up though, but he's taking lots of damage from Kog'Maw's health damage. Hecarim does ult, but he ults too short. It looks like they might take this tower and back off. Kog'Maw is the AD carry, so he's going to be able to do a lot of damage, and the Anivia wall will make it so they will just be able to take down the turret. Again, Kayle, even though she got picked up, again is really, now the blue team realized we need to go stop this Kayle. It makes it so the other 4 members can go do something.
Yeah, killing the Kayle was definitely a good step in the right direction for the blue team. They just need to catch some of these people out. If they catch Kayle out, they'll be able to push down mid and try to force a fight. However, in that engagement in particular, if they could have gotten the damage out onto Kayle a little bit sooner, save their abilities for when her intervention was down, then they might have been able to kill her a little bit quicker and respawn to their mid lane being taken down a lot quicker too. Hopefully, if that happened, they wouldn't have actually lost that turret, and they could start their own push down the mid lane, but now Kayle's back up. She's already split pushing bot lane. So blue team, once again, they're going to have to figure out what to do. They need to fight some really, really fast fights. That means 4v2s or something that they can win really easily and really quickly so that they can very quickly exchange their focus to some other point in the match. Right now, Red Team is going for Dragon, and I actually don't think that's the best idea for them. Even though they have the timer in, it'll give them a little bit more of a gold lead. As we've seen in this game, the gold lead isn't actually the thing that's making the biggest difference. It's much more about the pushing potential. And right now, Red Team's grouped up.
Almost with that Ezreal ult. If only that Ezreal doesn't need a map, but maybe if he had a compass. Very nice Anivia wall. Maokai does go in for that engage. Lux Laser doing a lot of damage to the new Theta, but that Hecarim ult does fear everyone for a second there. Kog'Maw still at full health, and he's doing a lot of damage. But Ezreal is too. Ezreal very strong in the mid game. Shen being taken low, but he's so tanky. It looks like this could be trouble for the new Theta. Maokai might be trying to catch someone, but there goes the slow, the stun, and the wall. Kayle, again, what is Kayle doing? She's going to try to take down Lux here, and she does get the Lux. Anivia, is she there to capitalize? Kayle still alive, gets taken down, and it looks like Maokai will be soon to follow. Here comes Kog'Maw doing lots of damage. Let's see if they're going to be able to catch Ezreal here. Ezreal is backing out, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to catch it. But oh no, it looks like Kog'Maw slowly sniping down Ezreal's health. Arcane Shift does go away, but looks like they might just try to push down this tower, and it looks like the blue team's inhibitor will be respawning soon. Very exciting fight. I thought that it was really going in CGC's favor, but just a very really creative play by Kayle. And just a follow-up by Anivia ended up turning it around. Again, Kog'Maw didn't die, and if anyone needs to die, it's Kog'Maw.
Not only that, but I think one of the main reasons that fight got turned around so easily was because Lux was the one who was getting really close to the bush, and Lux was the one who got caught out. She's a squishy champ. She had very low health at the time, so no matter who was sitting in that bush, she would have been taken down pretty quickly, and that's exactly what we saw. If we had a tanky champ like Maokai or Shen maybe be the one to try to check the bush for a Kayle, that would have went in a much different direction, because they would have had the rest of Lux's burst damage, which is huge, by the way. Even if she doesn't have her ultimate, her passives still proc a lot of damage along with the AoE damage on her E and a binding that can hit 2 people. Not only that, but the binding is a snare.
300 AP. It's pretty significant at about 28 minutes.
Yeah, she's gotten her death cap and a sorcerer shoes, so she even has some magic penetration on top of that. So she just needs to stay alive during some of these fights. Her and Ezreal, it is imperative that they stay alive during these fights, and right now, blue team, once again, they're going to try to look to catch people out. They don't want to mobilize bottom lane for the Kayle, because in that case, they're basically giving red team a free Baron if they do that. So right now, a very interesting standoff as Shen...
as Shen holds the bottom lane, though, the one good thing about this is as long as Shen can hold that tower and prevent the push, he has teleport, and he has... And speaking of a fight, there goes Maokai. Very nice Ezreal, but again, his team isn't following him up. Maokai's taking a lot of damage, and they're not really following up, so he almost gets taken down for free. So Kayle, again, just pushing that tower, and now they actually do have the advantage all over the map. Maokai had such a good engagement there, and CGC just didn't follow up.
I'm really wondering what happened there. They had an amazing position right there, catching out Anivia. That is a gigantic amount of damage that you're taking out for the red team. If someone were to have been able to capitalize on that, just Lux or Ezreal. I did see Ezreal ultimate, and he tried to fire a few skill shots in there, but maybe a little bit more commitment would have certainly helped, and I didn't really see Lux doing too much damage herself. If they could have taken Anivia down, that fight was basically theirs, because, you know, there's that wall that's gone down, and Hecarim doesn't do too much damage, so they can basically jump.
Here comes Home Guard Maokai, jumping in on Kog'Maw, but Kog'Maw does get away, and Hecarim using that ult to get away. Anivia is slow, they actually will run away. Kog'Maw maybe getting a little bit ballsy there and trying to do some kiting. He might get caught out now, but no, they do have a very good kiting comp. And all the while, Kayle slowly whittling down the tower, and Lulu could be in trouble here, overextending a little too much. Hecarim does get exhausted, so he's not going to heal very much. And Lux Laser, again, Lux doing so much damage. Anivia instantly getting taken down to Egg, and Lux is still full health. The egg getting turned into a little furry creature. So that will be a very good fight for CGC. But again, Kayle did win that bot lane, and it looks like she might push. But no, Home Guard Maokai is coming in. It's going to hit Kayle. That little tree, the tree that moved the fastest. is going to be able to force her away. But again, Maokai doesn't have a lot of damage. Oh, but Lux is shortly behind. If Kale did decide to turn, no. Looks like Kale's just gonna back off.
Home guard boots it's definitely a fun item, and in the right situations it can also be the best boot enchantment, and this is certainly one of those situations where they are pushed back into their base for the most part. They have to deal with so much split pushing that they really just need as much base defense as possible, and home guard boots gives just that. As soon as you get back to the base, that is an instant full heal and full mana, along with some amazing movement speed. You could be in the fountain and reach the edge of your base in about 2 or 3 seconds. That is huge for the type of fights they're fighting against. And top lane, that was one of the fights that they certainly needed. They caught red team just overstaying their welcome, more like it, and perhaps overestimating the amount of how far ahead they were. They were overestimating how far ahead they were, because most of the we do see a 6k gold difference, but most of that comes from map control and towers, not necessarily straight up damage, where we see once again the gold distribution. Lux is 4-1-8, Ezreal 6-0-7. And as we just saw, Lux is doing so much damage.
Maybe I misunderestimated the going into late game of the blue team's comp. Lux, obviously, very strong, and Ezreal, he did do fairly well throughout the mid game, and he's been one of the more successful. He's 6-0-7, so he does have a pretty good item lead. And just going back to what you were saying on home guard, they one interesting thing about home guard is that home guard, and I'll talk about that later, as Maokai does go in on the Kale. Kale does ult, but again, Lux Blades are doing a lot of damage. Kog'Maw being chased away by the Shen, but it looks like Shen now is in trouble. Shen will be picked up first for CGC, and Maokai is pretty low. Hecarim does ult in, doing lots of damage, and it looks like Lulu will be taken out. Maokai will be put out of place, and he will be yet another kill. It looks like this fight, unfortunately, red team might have learned their lesson, and the slow does go off on Ezreal. Here comes Hecarim! Very, very fast pony coming in and picking up that Ezreal. And it looks like that will be yet another inhibitor. This might be the game coming out here, as there are 20 seconds for anyone to come up but Lux. There are super minions knocking at the doorstep, and Lux could even get taken down here, but no, she will be on the fountain here. Both towers are down, and the whole team is pounding away at that Nexus. I think this is going to be GG.
Wow, what an amazing game. I absolutely loved watching that. Just so many intense fights, and really, I think the turning point, there are a few turning points actually, but in that last fight, Shen just got way too overextended for his own good, trying as hard as he can to dive the Kog'Maw, but when Kog'Maw just hides behind 2 tanky members of his team, actually 1 tanky member and a Janna, it's going to be really hard to kill him, so he should have backed off a little bit sooner, given his team a little bit more peel, and not only that, but the the Hecarim ultimate was amazing in that fight. Great turnaround, just realizing that the rest of blue team was basically bunched up right in a group. He was able to run in there, fear everyone, and that fear caused Ezreal to move up and out of position. That allowed the rest of his team to just bash on Ezreal, kill him real quick, or get him down really low anyway, and Ezreal did arcane shift out, but still that's a lot of damage. Ezreal was taken out of the fight, and a bunch of people just got bursted after that because it's such a nice disrupt on Hecarim's ult.
Yeah, and that is actually going to be the last